Hi, I'm Antonio Mora. Unless you've been in a coma or living on the International Space Station or a deserted island, you know that the series finale of Game of Thrones is Sunday. Tens of millions of fans will be watching in the US, and many more are expected to tune in across the world in the 170 countries where it will air. The final season of a show that has become such a phenomenon has inevitably led to discussions about whether it is the greatest TV show of all time. It's probably a silly conversation to engage in because it's tough to choose among apples and oranges. How can you compare Friends to Breaking Bad or The Simpsons to Star Trek? Even within genres, comparison is tough. The list of funniest comedies is long. Which could you convincingly tell me was better? Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Cheers, The Simpsons, All in the Family, I Love Lucy, Friends. And were those better than the great science fiction and fantasy shows? And which was best among The Twilight Zone, Star Trek, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Doctor Who, The X-Files, or the remake of Battlestar Galactica? And the dramas: The Wire, The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Hill Street Blues, Lost, Mad Men, anything on Masterpiece Theater, or a personal favorite, St. Elsewhere. But if we don't argue about which is the greatest TV show now as one of the men's, when will we? So here are my 2 cents and my 2 shows, because I'm copping out and calling it a tie. If you can quantify greatness, you'd have to agree with my first choice, MASH. More Americans watched its final episode than any non-sporting event in history. It took the Super Bowl 27 years to catch it in total viewers, and by the time it did, 75 million more people lived in the U.S. In pure ratings, nothing has ever come close to touching MASH's audience on that Monday night in 1983. One of the many things that made the MASH series so great is that it combined genres. It was both a hilarious comedy and a masterful drama about the futility of war. Until MASH, it was easy to look down at television as the boob tube, a decidedly poor cousin to film. Most star actors wouldn't be caught dead on television unless they were appearing on a talk show to promote their latest movie. With MASH's success, people started waking up to the fact that TV provided a storytelling opportunity unsurpassed in the performing arts to develop characters and audience identification with them over many years, and in some cases, hundreds of hours and episodes. That opened the door for thoughtful, quality dramas, including Hill Street Blues, West Wing, and even Star Trek: The Next Generation, while The Simpsons and Seinfeld made us laugh with their original comedy. All those shows then ushered in the recent golden age of television, generally seen as beginning with The Sopranos in 1999. Now, even the biggest movie stars are lining up to do prestige television. So it's tough to beat MASH's legacy. But we've never seen anything like Game of Thrones. Hands down, it is the greatest epic film for television. I don't think anyone argues that. Also, as MASH brilliantly combined genres, Thrones delivers a mythological clash of civilizations, a feudal fantasy of dragons and zombies and spellbinding visual effects. But it is also a political thriller involving palace intrigue and various kingdoms, along with a healthy dose of romance and sex. As if that weren't enough, has any horror movie scared you as much as The Night King and his White Walkers, or terrified you as much as the Red Wedding episode? It still scares me. As TV critic Mary McNamara wrote, there are television series that more people have watched, that more people have loved, series that have more specifically aided our growth as a society, or more clearly set a template for other shows to follow. But she concludes, in story and sweep and ambition and execution, heart and mind, Game of Thrones is quite simply the greatest show on earth. When it debuted on HBO in 2011, many critics dismissed it. I couldn't see what the fuss was about and gave up after a couple of episodes. But then my family convinced me to give it another chance, and I am very grateful they did. Don't let preconceptions about the show dissuade you from watching. Sure, the final season so far has been a disappointment, but lots of terrific shows have not had great endings. Remember Seinfeld and Lost? Still, even when Game of Thrones fails, it does so spectacularly. The show is such a powerhouse that industry analysts believe we won't see the likes of it again because it's just too expensive to produce television on such an epic scale. HBO gambled mightily, and its huge bet paid off. It's time to say farewell. Sunday night, Forget about the tweets and the theories, the debates about who shouldn't have died and who should win the Iron Throne. Just turn off your phones and enjoy television's grandest achievement.